Hey everyone, we got Accord and Gong here to share some details around our exciting new integration and partnership. So yeah, I'm Ross, CEO and co-founder of Accord, and
I'm Patrick Burke. I run go-to-market tech partnerships at Gong.
awesome. But yeah, was really excited to share the news around our new and improved integration. Obviously, kind of the hot word and theme these days is context, and that's really a big part of the partnership. Maybe, Patrick, if you want to kick off on the Gong side of what you guys are bringing to the partnership, I can kind of share, go into the Accord stuff.
Yeah, of course. I think most people probably traditionally know Gong is really like a call recorder or conversational intelligence, but we've really evolved so much further from that to really bring in context from all different types of places, like either where you're forecasting, all types of emails, soon to be text messages, LinkedIn messages, all of that really in one single repository to really understand everything that's going on with your customer. And then, of course, now with this integration, we can really push all that context into Accord.
Yeah. I mean, text message, I didn't even know about that. That's
Yeah,
great.
coming
We
up.
always talk about the kind of hidden, champion text messages. But yeah, we've been huge users and fans of Gong along with a lot of our customers. And with the ability to actually leverage a lot of this unstructured data, we've been really thinking about how do we drive. We always think about kind of the carrot and stick approach for sellers. The carrot now being a lot more context in the creation of the mutual action plans, the business cases, the stakeholder maps, the account plans that typically take a lot of time to create.
Totally.
And then update and then push back to the CRM. Typically that's manual because it lives in a sheet or a doc or a deck. Now we can take all that intelligence from Gong and not just the CRM and actually create and update all of that stuff. So I think a great example that I always think about as an ex-seller is, let's say I get on a discovery call or get on a call with my champion and they mention two really key people that we haven't talked to in the deal. Am I going to remember those two people, happen to write it down? If I'm really present on the call, am I going to go back and listen to that at minute 23? Or do you want to drive that insight and push that back to both the CRM as well as your stakeholder map and create the accountability to actually engage those people?
Yeah.
And so that's something I think about that goes from, super manual and maybe you forget about it to a potential key stakeholder that you engage with and just, multiplying that across the actions that you're creating, the insights from updating a business case, the handoff to post sales, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I think like similar for me, right? Like I think at Gong we obviously talk so much about automation and automating all these steps for the sellers, but I think with this integration, with really what Accord does, you're actually bringing something that's shared with the customer directly to the customer and actually automating that, getting us out of, like you said, those spreadsheets that are, I think, a pain for every single seller to actually create, if they're even creating it, right? Yeah. And of course, they should be as a best practice, but really this makes it so much easier and taking that data directly from Gong.
Totally. Yeah. Another great use case I can think of is on like the content and resource side, right? Marketing or partnerships might be arming the team with all of this great content and resources. Well, now you just have to remember, oh shit, that Friday lunch and learn from last month, Patrick was talking about our great partnership with this company. They brought up their stack and do I have the right stuff at my fingertips to share with our client? Well, with this integration, now you can listen for, hey, they brought up their stack in this use case with a particular platform. Well, now it's going to suggest that using that conversational intelligence, hey, in your flow of work, here's two pieces of context or content after the call you should share in that email follow-up. So those are some of the things that, again, are just like very clear things that you should be doing that are just impossible to remember all of those micro details and just making it really easy for the seller to to be following those best practices.
Yeah, and I think on that, like especially where Gong is kind of recently headed into like the enable space, where you're doing a lot of like call or AI coaching, AI training, et cetera, but also some of like the actual content generation. That too is now like so much easier for like this integration for Accord to actually suggest the right content at the right time, as opposed to, like you said, someone trying to like rack their brain to think about, okay, what's the actual right thing to send to this person and make it so much more personalized versus just relying on, your content management system to pick like the 1, 2, 3 things that are usually for this, persona or ICP. Whereas it's like, directly for that individual.
Yeah, or just downloading the 3 things to your desktop and
Exactly.
using those for the next
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it more dynamic and up to date. The other thing I'm thinking about too is how this relates to forecast. I think some of our customers' favorite features, obviously Gong starting with the conversational intelligence. I think forecast is becoming a really great integrated tool. And how do you make sure that you can reflect what's happening on the call, but the actions and tying that to the forecast
Totally.
score. So another thing a lot of our joint customers are doing is they're tying the customer validated actions back to the forecast. So you're picking up the stuff on the call, it's driving the actions of the sellers. Are you getting that validation back from the customer in the shared workspace to actually power the, yes, we've shared this stuff with them. Have they, engaged back? Do we have the right stakeholders engaged? Have we gotten the right sign off? Have we gotten the right metrics? All those things, empowering your forecast score based on the actual action between the buyer and seller, I think is something else that a lot of people are excited about.
Yeah, I actually agree completely. I think there's one thing that I think a lot of our customers don't take advantage of enough, and it's that third party signals pushing into the forecast score.
Yes.
And I think especially with what Accord provides, which is like a true, I think we talk about it a lot, signal versus noise.
Yes.
That is a very strong buyer signal when someone's actually, leveraging and like working through that mutual action plan. So it's great.
Yeah, actually doing the thing instead of the rep saying they did the thing, or even, kind of furthering. Obviously, you can push. I know you guys have a tool that pushes updates back to Salesforce in terms of filling out MedPick. What's even more, I think, valuable is combining that with the customer validated actions. So, okay, we said it, did we do it?
Yeah.
And using that to validate. So hopefully you don't have those late stage, stage 4, stage 5 negotiations, the end of the quarter. And hey, it turns out that only one person has ever engaged with, our business case. That's probably, a tricky signal.
Yeah. And I just think the customer validated actions are just going to become more and more prevalent, whether it's, with Accord or with Gong or even some of the other products like CPQ products, right? Understanding who's actually going into those, looking at order forms, et cetera. Like those are going to be like the next true, I think, layer of signals that everyone cares about versus, the more traditional, maybe more of like firmographic data, right? That that we're getting from some more legacy players.